full-service business. It's a very complicated, labor-intensive business, and if you have two work areas, you have to either have a supervisor in both areas, and then one person overseeing and seeing the big picture. And once we moved all the labor to one spot, the daily management of the flow of work and supervising people became so much easier because everyone was in one spot. All the labor work was being done in one spot. And if there was a problem with what was in the former first area stage, which was vacuuming, we'd have to send the car back, or we'd have to pull them off to the side with a shop vac and touch it up. Whereas now, if there's any problem, it's in one area. So my car wash manager's been with me for 20-some years, and she would often says, "Why didn't we do this 20 years ago?" She's very happy. It doesn't melt away, but it definitely goes down. And I knew that, and that's okay with me. Mike Black in Toronto, he helped me a lot in the decision-making process of this, and in terms of the pricing and really what the customer wanted. We charge more than we used to for interior cleaning, but we also clean the interior. If you go back to when we started in the 70s, you weren't allowed to eat in mom and dad's car, and there were no cup holders. And so to clean the inside of a car was not a complicated affair. It was just a little bit of touch-up because a car was a more valuable thing to people than it is maybe today, and they weren't having meals in their car like people do today. So to clean a minivan today, they're a disaster in some cases. And so to just vacuum the floor area and dust the dash and do the windows, it's really not clean on the inside. And it doesn't matter. So, well, you're only paying X number of dollars. Well, I still want all the coffee out of the cup holders. I still want you to vacuum under the seats. And in the traditional full-service format, doesn't provide the space or the time to do that. So now it's a mini detail, and we almost never get a complaint about quality anymore. And that was a frequent thing before because we were rushed and didn't clean the cup holders like people wanted. So the cars are just much dirtier on the inside than they used to be. So the ratio, we're about 30% interior and 70% exterior.
Is that about what you expected? Is that about what you thought you'd go?
I thought we would be maybe 40%, but Mike Black in Toronto said, you know, some are as low as 15%, but 25% probably, as you've talked to most of your customers, a traditional flex serve, 25% is probably a norm. Down a little bit. It wasn't real significant, but it was offset by significantly less labor.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah, the highs and lows are not nearly as great as they used to be. So the ease of management, the shortage of the right kind of labor all drove that decision. But for me, I just wasn't satisfied with the quality of interior cleaning that we were delivering. So for me, I want to sleep at night, and when I go to the local restaurant, I don't want to get beat up by, well, I was at the car wash and the vacuuming was terrible. It doesn't happen anymore because we really do it right. Well, the onset of self-pay stations, I was always very particular about my greeter. You know, that was a high priority, just like Mike's, the Doms, they spend a lot of time and energy making sure their greeter is friendly, knowledgeable, looks like a Marine. They're good-looking kids, and so that's always been my same value as well. And as a matter of fact, the one service advisor has been with me almost as long as Tammy has been with me, 20-some years. I just recently got a comment or a compliment on Jim. The Curry Group, and you're familiar with the Curry Group, they're probably the best in the industry in assisting training service advisors. And one of the Curry trainers said, of all the service advisors I've dealt with, Jim is absolutely the best he's ever come across. And Jim, my service advisor, he has a genuine love for people. He likes talking to people.
He does. When we go there, we enjoy Jim. It's tempting to just spend time with Jim.
Yes. And he's genuine. And our philosophy has never been to push an item, educate the customer, and then let them decide. So it's more teach them what our menu is. But in spite of that, some people's perception of trying to educate them, they're assuming you're just pushing, you want me to buy more. So I was always sensitive and was worried that every time I come to the car wash, they try to sell me the kitchen sink. You know, I didn't want that. I don't like shopping where things are pushed on me. You know, you go to Wendy's and they ask would you like a Frosty with that? That's okay. But if you come back and ask me 2 or 3 more questions, then that irritates me. So I was always concerned about that. Well, my key salesperson, service advisor, Jim, he really felt like he took it as an insult that he wasn't doing a good enough job and that this was going to replace him. It took me probably 4 months to get that out of his heart, that this is another tool to assist you. And I said, really, I said, Jim, when you think about it, half the customers know what they want. They don't want to talk to anybody. The other half want to talk to you and they're open. So this allows you to focus on the folks that really want the personal service, and the people who don't want that, they can do it themselves. It took me about 4 months to convince him of that. So he understands that now. So if a regular customer comes in, they always buy the best wash. They always bought the best wash from him, and he's dealing with an elderly person that has 15 questions. That customer just goes to the other XPT, waves to Jim, picks the best wash, and gets loaded.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. Counting deposits at the end of the day. You know, we do a deposit 2 or 3 times a week now. We don't empty the XPTs every night. Now some people may because of the demographics and the crime. That's not an issue for us, so we just make sure we empty it often enough. We basically empty it when we need to resupply it, so that's when we make a deposit. So the accounting on a day-to-day basis is so much easier. The errors, I mean, there's no way to make an error. Unless the customer picks something they really didn't want.
What's
you know,
really fun.
And then they tender the sale as opposed to hit start over. And that's not happening very often anymore, because they've learned, you know. And some people here, and I don't know the solution to this, but here's an issue, because when you go to the gas station, you swipe your card first and then you pump your gas. So that's the mentality. So for whatever reason, when a customer pulls up, even though audibly it says, welcome, you know, don't put any, I don't know exactly, you guys pick the verbiage, but it says don't pay first, pick first. They still will swipe their credit card or they'll stick their 20 in, and then they'll make a mistake. And then once the money's in and once the credit card's in, the sale's tendered. So I don't know this exactly how to solve that issue. It's not a huge problem, but they'll just stick a credit card in first thing because they're used to it at the gas station. There's a training time. I don't know how long Mike spends, but we take anywhere from 9 to 12 weeks before we really let somebody loose as a service advisor. You have to learn the cash register, you have to learn the menu. I mean, there's so much to learn that until I'm comfortable of letting them be there, it's a long training process, whereas the XBTs, and basically any of the employees can walk up, and this is kind of an exciting thing, is that the average employee really likes going over and helping a customer, whereas before they couldn't because they couldn't run the PPT or they couldn't run the cash register, and they kind of get a kick, oh, let me go help them. So that's been a nice thing. So more of the employees are able to assist customers in the purchasing process. Depending on where the line is, the first menu sign is probably 25 yards from the XBT. And then there's another menu right up. If you're the second car waiting, you're looking at the menu, just like McDonald's does. I just follow McDonald's lead. They know what to do. So put it back far enough so that if you're waiting, you can look at the menu, and then you get close to placing the order. You still see the menu, and then you come right up to place the order. Now this is an interesting thing. I'm very happy now that I have 2 lanes. And if you watch McDonald's now, what's the latest thing in the drive-thru? It's 2 lanes.
Yeah, they put one in my little town.
It's 2 lanes. And why is it 2 lanes? It's because the lady who can't decide whether she wants a Big Mac or a Filet-O-Fish, the guy who knows exactly what he wants, he goes to the other lane. She's still trying to figure it out. He's placed his order, and he's up at the window. And that's why we need 2 lanes. And we do have the open signs above both XBTs, because there's a perception if I pull in, if there's one car in one lane, the next car will pull in right behind that car instead of going to an open lane. I've asked a few people, well, I thought that one was closed. And other people have said, well, they were here before me. I should really wait.
Oh, how polite. That's a Midwestern.
Yes, they just didn't want to get ahead of them.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So, has the open sign helped?
It has.
Okay.
It has. You bet. And anybody who has the self-pay stations, the open signs, the banks do it. But still, the bank will tell you the same thing. There'll be an open lane, and there'll be 3 people sitting in line in the other lane. They think, well, it must be closed. There's nobody in that lane. So. I have no regrets. Every day I am thrilled they're there. It's just, I wish I had made the decision earlier. And I said earlier in the interview, one of the reasons why I was postponing it is because I thought I was going to probably sell the business. And then once I realized I wasn't going to sell it, then it made more sense to make this investment. There's no question. I go home every night and say to my wife, I say, I love these XBTs. You know, it's consistent. The customer is being treated the same way. And I'm now offering something to the customer I wasn't before. They can be in complete control. Or we'll do it all for you. So I'm very happy.